DJI doesn't exactly advertise this, but what if I told you that your Avata 360 could actually perform with better signal penetration, stronger transmission, and potentially a lot more range with one simple little tweak? Because here's something that most Avata 360 pilots don't realize. Depending on where you live in the world, your drone's transmission power is being held back right out of the box. What's up guys, I'm Adam from Drone and Lens, and a while back I made a video on unlocking FCC mode using the hand file method on the DJI Goggles, and the response was honestly insane. We had comments, DMs, people sending me their flight footage from places that they could never have reached before. But since then, a whole new wave of 360 pilots have come into the hobby, and so many of you are flying out there restricted without even knowing it. So in this video, we're going to fix that. We're covering the hand file method for the goggles, the drone tweak software method for the controller, what FCC mode actually does, and whether it genuinely improves your signal, and whether it's even worth doing in 2026. And as always, this video is strictly for educational purposes only, so follow your local laws and fly responsibly. But with that said, let's unlock what your Avata 360 was actually built to do. So before we touch anything, let's make sure we actually understand what we're dealing with, because the FCC mode isn't some underground hack that some guy just invented in his garage. It's a real transmission standard used by real pilots in real countries. Here's how it breaks down. DJI drones operate under different transmission power standards depending on your region. Now, Europe and most of the world is in CE mode, but the United States, now they're in FCC mode. And the key difference between the two is transmission power output. FCC mode allows your drone to push a stronger signal, and what that means in the real world is, well, it's better penetration through obstacles, fewer unexpected disconnects, and more stability when you're pushing that extreme distance. Before anyone gets excited, this isn't going to turn your Avata into some kind of surveillance zone with 40 kilometers range, but here's what it does do. It gives you consistency where CE sometimes fell apart. And as any experienced FPV pilot will tell you, range is completely meaningless without a stable connection. Now, I'd take a rock solid 2 kilometer signal over a sketchy 8 kilometer signal that drops every time I fly near a building or a turn a sharp corner. Okay, let's talk method one. And honestly, this is the one that started it all for me, the hand file method. Now, this became the most talked about trick in the DJI community for one simple reason. It almost felt like it shouldn't work. It's that straightforward. And I'm going to show you right here and how you do it. So here's the concept. You place a small text file, commonly referred to as the hand file. You put it onto an SD card that sits inside your DJI goggles. It doesn't matter what goggles they are, it'll work on all of them. And if you're wanting to experiment for educational purposes only, well then I'll leave a downloadable link in the description where you can download the hand file for yourself and install it onto your goggles. It's that simple. So once you insert that file onto an SD card and insert it into your goggles, well then your device can switch to FCC mode. And you just come under here, we go along to transmission, and then we come down here and switch it from auto to manual. Now, I want to be upfront and state with you, the exact behavior can vary, and I mean vary significantly, depending on your current firmware version, your region which your goggles are running, and whether DJI has even passed a recent update. Because here's the thing about DJI, they're always pushing updates, and they're not exactly shy about closing these doors when they find them. But for a good couple of years, the hand file actually hasn't been touched. So if you're watching this in the future, always check the latest community feedback before attempting anything else. But as I said, it's been working for a good few years now, untouched. When this method works, pilots report noticeably stronger transmission power, better signal penetration behind obstacles, and a lot more consistent connection in environments that would normally cause grief. And for FPV pilots especially, penetration is everything.
Phrasing, boom.
The second you clip behind a tree line, a concrete wall, or a warehouse, even a cluster of interference from other signals, your connection can disappear instantly. That's the problem that FCC mode helps solve. So I want to share something personal here because I think it's more useful than any spec sheet. Now, I was flying through a wooded area, heavy tree coverage, you know, that kind of place where you're always half expecting the signal to bottle it and just poop its pants. And there were specific spots that I've flown before where I'd always start seeing that signal anxiety kick in. and that little voice that says, maybe I can't push it any further. Well, after switching methods, those same spots felt completely different. The connection held, the video stayed actually really clean, and that little voice in my head went real quiet. Now, your results will depend on your environment, your interference levels, even your flying style. But here's what I'll say about the Avata 360 specifically. It already has one of the most impressive transmission systems that DJI has ever put in a consumer zone. So add FCC mode on top of that, and the confidence you feel in this is another level. You stop chasing signal bars and you stop second guessing your own range, and you will start focusing on what actually matters, and that's getting them great cinematic shots. Now let's talk about the second method, and that one that opened the door for a completely different type of DJI setup. We're talking the drone tweaks method. Now this method uses dedicated software to unlock FCC mode directly to supported DJI controllers, things like the RC2 and the standard DJI RC with your phone controller. And for anybody wanting to check this route out for themselves for educational purposes, well then I'll leave a link in the description for drone tweaks as well, because there you will find every bit of information on how to set this up on your controllers. And honestly, this opened up a completely different route for me and DJI users that use controllers. Some of you guys are full on FPV rigs with the Avata, and some of you are flying more traditional camera drone setups. Some are mixing and matching controllers, goggles and accessories. So Drone Tweaks gave the community a software based path that didn't rely on the SD card trick. So for a lot of pilots, that was a big game changer. Now I'll give you the same disclaimer as before. Firmware compatibility matters, and DJI updates things constantly, and what works today might be patched tomorrow. So always do your research before you dive in, and check the communities, check the forums and check the comments from people who are running your exact firmware. But the reason pilots keep chasing FCC mode regardless of the method is always the same. Signal confidence changes the way you fly. Now, when you trust your connection, you commit to shots that you'd normally back out of. You fly smoother, you push a lot further, and you stop hesitating at the exact moments when hesitation would cost you the clip. And that kind of confidence, well then that shows up in your footage. So let's address the question that everybody actually wants answering. Does it really work? Well, for the majority of pilots who tried it, yes, but probably not in the way that you're picturing. A lot of people hear FCC mode and immediately start imagining impossible range, flying behind mountains, transition signals that never drop. And that's not what this is. The real thing that actually changes your flying experience is the consistency, especially in environments where CE mode struggles the most. Dense urban areas with Wi-Fi congestion everywhere, tree heavy terrain where signal has to fly through natural interference, buildings, walls, structures, anything that kills the line of sight. These are the exact situations where pilots consistently report the biggest improvement with FCC mode. And here's the thing, when your signal is consistent everywhere, everything else changes. Your flying becomes more deliberate, more confident and more cinematic. You're not flying defensively anymore, you're flying like a filmmaker. The FCC mode conversion isn't going anywhere with this community, and honestly, it shouldn't, because I believe pilots deserve to understand what their equipment is actually capable of. But now I want to hear from you. Have you tried FCC mode on your setup, and did you notice real world difference? Or do you think that CE mode is honestly fine for where you fly? Drop it in the comments, because seriously, I read every single one, and those conversions help everybody watching. And if this video gave you value, well then do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps more pilots find content like this. And if you want more FPV breakdowns, DJI tech, cinematic flying tips and behind the scenes from real flights, well then consider subscribing and hitting that bell, because we've got a hell of a lot more coming. I'm Adam from Drone Lens. You guys have been absolutely colourful, and I hope to connect with you all in the next video.